All right, today we've got StrikePoint to Gold, and Mike Allen is the CEO. Mike, take it away.
Hey, everybody. I think some of you I've met before, Brent and a few others, Lobo I've met before. Just an introduction on myself and StrikePoint. We're a Nevada gold explorer. It's an early stage project. It's the Hercules Gold asset located in the Walker Lane. I've been with the company for about 3 years. We've just kicked off our maiden resource estimate drill program. We're going to do about 30 holes into this property and hope to resurface some value for shareholders and get ourselves a new resource estimate for sometime later in this year. Excellent. All right, so let's get going here. Obviously, we'll do the forward-looking statements, read those at your leisure, and put those out there. I guess the leading of this is why now? Why StrikePoint? As I said earlier, we're on the start of our maiden resource estimate drill program right now. And if we get what the results say or what we're expecting to get, we should get a significant re-rate in the company. We've got an exploration target that you can see here that that's a compilation of the historical work. It's not quite a resource, and there's no guarantee that it's going to be a resource, but it is a sort of an out there number. It is located in the Walker Lane, which is experiencing a bit of a renaissance right now. It's up towards Reno. It's about 10 miles to the east of the Comstock. And I've got a fair bit of history in the Walker Lane. Past lives, some of you guys might know me. I ran a company called Northern Empire, and we had the Sterling asset down by Beatty. I bought that asset for $10 million US. I sold it 16 months later for $120 million. It's now become part of the Beatty district, all under this Anglo Gold Arthur Gold Project. And that's on its way to being probably the most significant new gold discovery in the 1970s, since the 1970s in Nevada. But the Walker Lane is definitely getting a look, and there's a lot of M&A activity that is happening in the Walker Lane and in Nevada. And so it's a great place to be exploring and doing work. Advantages of Hercules, probably one of the simplest ones is I've had this project before. I had it in a past life. I had a vehicle called Eclipse Gold Mining Corporation, and we merged into a producer. And I was able to acquire it back when that producer stumbled. So I sold it for a value of $25 million back in, I think, just pre-COVID. So whenever that was, 2018, 2019, whenever that was. And when the producer stumbled, I was able to buy it back for $250,000 Canadian. And the reason why I bought it back was a lot of the advantages were still there. It's a big system. It's obviously in Nevada, which is something that I'm comfortable with. It's got a lot of historical holes, plus holes that I put into it. And then the most important thing that happened was this new interpretation of what's controlling the mineralization there. When we first got into Hercules back in the first time I had it, it struggled with with being a random number generator. The hit rate was about 50% on it. And we went in there and did a drill program in Eclipse, and we had about a 50% hit rate. And that's not really what you want to get for confidence. And where we did it, pardon me, where we changed things, if you see this vein in the outcrop here, the geologist in the room would say, okay, you drill it from the side that I'm on and you hit it square. And what would actually happen with if you were to do that is you'd hit it about 50% of the time. What happens with this vein and this whole series of structures, it's a large scale caldera system, and it curves and it gets underneath you. And so if you drill it from this side, you'd either drill down dip and miss it completely, or down dip in one of the higher grade portions of it and really get it. And so we came up with a program just before I sold the asset and started to drill backwards, essentially. And we went 19 for 20 with that drill program. And then in 2025 in StrikePoint, we did another drill program and went 12 for 12. So the model is holding. And so that's the real difference versus where we've had it before. And that leads us to, when we talked to the QP, he saw what we were looking at and gave us the exploration target. He's like, I haven't got enough data to give you a resource, but I can see what you're thinking. I can see what you see in the model, but we haven't got enough data points to line it up. So that led us to do this Maiden resource estimate drill program, which is going to be about 30 holes. It's a fairly big property. It's BLM land, so this is about 100 square kilometers of BLM land that we've got. Town of Dayton is here. It's about 5 miles away to get onto the actual mineralization. It's Nevada, power, water, all those wonderful things are accessible. There's a substation right about here down at Como, the defined target. And then we just did a deal with Newmont, and some of the people are probably familiar with Frontier. This is the Long Canyon story. Frontier Development USA had 51 claims here and controlled the Como district. So it was within Newmont, and we were able to do a deal to acquire that. And we've largely been focused on the northern part of the property, sort of put the line between delineating the north and the south here. And because of this inlier block of Newmont, we never really got around to the south. So now that we've got this consolidated, the Como trend, there's some good numbers and some good drill holes that hopefully we'll get down to this summer. So a lot of ground, a lot of alteration, a lot of numbers, and a lot of work to be done. But it's a big package, surfacing value in Nevada. This is what the exploration target looks like in space. There's that ridge that I was referencing earlier, sort of the divide between the north and the south. These are the proposed drill holes to get us to our maiden resource estimate, and importantly, the solids for the exploration target are open for further expansion. You can see also with the modeling that we've got, you get a fairly high grade knot close to surface. The measured distance here, this is the Hercules showing, it's about 700 meters, where you get a lot of high grade samples on surface, and the drilling is quite nice in close. So theoretically, a potential starter pit. This blob is a bit less poorly defined, but it's open to the south as you move up the hill. Some recent significant intercepts. This is from our 2025 program, where we went 12 for 12. This hole here, 117 meters, 0.47, right about resource grade. This is Nevada. It's the southernmost hole in cliffs, and this is where I'm standing, is about the vertical expression. If you brought that hole to surface, that's where it would be. You can see the structure that I'm on, and if you can see in the background behind me, there's an old adit where some fool went into and got an underground surface sample, and it was about 1 ounce per ton gold. The structure continues off into this burn here, and then you lose it underneath the cover back here. So it's going to be a busy time for 2026 for us. Some of these milestones that we're in progress on, as I said, we started this drill program in just before PDAC. I think it was about the 28th of February that the rig made its way up the hill. 30 holes, 45 to 60 days is what we're expecting to get it done. We'll start to see the first results start to dribble in but I'm giving it 6 weeks, so the middle of April, before things start showing up. And we'll get another 6 weeks of results. We'll spend the summer doing the resource update, and we hope to deliver that sometime around Beaver Creek this fall. In addition to the north, where the exploration target is, we've got the southern part of the property, which is the where we acquired the ground from Newmont. There's 3 main showings down there, and they all have permits on them. So we've divided them into the Comets, the Pony Meadows, and the Sirens. Como Comets includes what we just acquired from Newmont, and there's some really nice drill holes there, 12 meters of 5 grams, 20 meters of just over 2. What was historically drilled down there was more looking for an underground target rather than a bulk tonnage. So there's some options there for looking a bit further. The Huey Logan is a past producing, actually about a 1980s open pit heap leach mine. It was a small producer. It did about 30,000 ounces. It didn't do well due to the gold prices. It did not run out of mineralization. I actually ran into a guy at PDAC that worked down there. Pony Meadows is a large-scale ring structure that we've identified on the south side of the property. Again, it's part of the calderas that we see. There's a 2.6 kilometer vein that outcrops at surface. You can get visible gold if you work at it, and some very nice surface samples out there. Sirens, if people remember, at the end of Frontier development, there was 3 companies that extracted properties out of Frontier just before they sold to Newmont. One was a West Kirkland Mining, where I was the VPX, and I extracted 10 properties out of them. There was the spin-out Pilot, which is now Liberty, and there was a company called Bridgeport. Bridgeport got the Sirens, a target, and they drilled a couple of holes in 2008. Some decent intercepts, 38 meters at 0.64, no silver assay, ending in mineralization. They did it again in another hole, ending 25.91 meters at 0.68, ending in mineralization. There's also visible gold up there. It's another ring structure. So a lot of work to be done in the south. I consider the property to be advanced exploration in the north, more on the regional or grassroots exploration in the south, but we're heading towards drill targets down there. Just a map showing some of the surface sampling that we've got on the Como district. We inherited a database down there, but some pretty significant numbers, 166.62 grams per ton gold here, and up to 100 grams per ton silver down here. We talked earlier about the substation. It's right there. But we get a trend of mineralization heading from the Healy-Logan through the Como district up to the Pony Meadows mine, where you get a joining of structures. There's a ring structure that comes in through here. So that creates what we're calling the Como trend in the south. What we're looking at for the company in terms of surfacing value in the year is we're looking at that resource estimate coming down and getting a bit of a re-rate. We're seeing somewhere historically that juniors have gotten about $75 per ounce in the ground. The number that we could come up with for the resource estimate is probably on the order comparable to Scorpio, or maybe better, is what the guidance that we're giving with the QP. Currently, we're about a $14 million market cap. If we get $75 per ounce in the ground and somewhere around that number or better, you're going to see where the re-rate comes from. So we can, and Scorpio actually also has done quite well. They've marketed their story quite well. They get about between $130 and $160 an ounce in the ground modern. So the range between 75 and 130 is well within the possibilities. You see what we can also see in terms of recent transactions. AngloGold acquired the Bullfrog, and the Bullfrog M&I was similar to what sort of grades that we get out of Hercules. Centerra is putting together the Goldfield mine, not a particularly big mine, not particularly high grade, but it's a good money maker, particularly at these gold prices or better. So that construction decision was going, but you start to see the leverage of what these big open pit heap leach operations can do in Nevada. And this is obviously near surface gold that we're dealing with at the Hercules Gold Project. Got a couple of minutes just to wrap up. Share structures, pretty good. We consolidated the structure a few years ago, 63.4 million out, minor amount of warrants. These guys have got an accelerator clause. We've got a few expiring in next week, and go from there. Market cap has changed. We're about 26 cents today, so a little bit better than that. And the cash is there to get us through the drill program and go from there. Biggest shareholders are Pathfinder, then Eric Sprott, and then I'm number 4. Sean Kuhn is number 5, and then it becomes the rest of the management and directors making up the top 10. I think that was 15 minutes, so We do have some comps just in terms of the Western US comparables, how our exploration target grade compares with everybody else. You're seeing strategics come into this. This is Liberty at Black Pine, North Bullfrog getting taken out, resource estimates, and there's the construction decision up there at Goldfield. So this is the market that things are going to happen at Hercules.
Okay, Mike, that's great. Brent, you had your hand up first. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good day, Mike. I just got a few geologic questions. Obviously, there's not a lot of information on your website, and the details on the 300 holes that have already been drilled.
Yeah.
What I can see from my reading is that your the grade drops off at maybe 200-300 meters depth in those veins, and the oxidation goes away as well. What you said was it was difficult. There's a caldera margin of some sort, a caldera that you're had fooled you before.
Yep.
What changed, and how is it that the drilling had to be turned around? Are these veins actually chopped up, or what's going on with these veins?
When we first went at it, Brett, if you ever get up on site, the cliffs to Hercules, it's the top of a ridge, and you think it's a horst situation. So particularly for cliffs, and you see that vein, you should be drilling it from this side to hit that horst structure. And what it actually is it's just a block, and it rotates. And what really changed for us in terms of the interpretation was actually taking a look at silicon and seeing the relationship that they had there with some of the curved structures, and just getting that caldera model into our head. In terms
So
of
you're
the oxidation and the depth of it, we haven't really done a big deep hole targeting a structure under the new model, because you have to remember, if you're targeting it here at surface, it actually comes out behind you, and so you'd have to do a backup and go for it. In terms of the oxidation is a function of the structure. So the fluids obviously come up the structure, up that caldera ring structure, and then the oxidation comes down. So in terms of where you get grade, you generally get oxidation because the oxidation is coming down the structure. But if you were to look at it in 3D, the oxidation would go down along the structure, come back up where it's tight, and then move its way along. So the oxidation and the structure and the mineralization all come together in one.
All right, so not to get too far into the weeds, but what you're saying is that it's a reverse fault or slip fault that's been mineralized, and is that
Yeah,
it's
it's
caldera?
they call it a flower structure.
Okay.
It's the way that that's what the Nevada guys call it. And so yeah, it is a normal fault. It's got that listric bit to it.
Okay, and you're thinking in terms of an open pit on what it looks like a 5 to 10 foot wide vein?
The zones actually get the highest grade will be in that zone. So you'll get maybe 5 feet of 5 grams, and then you'll get a big bulk tonnage around it. It sort of permeates itself out into the wall rock. So it's a bit more bulky than that. You see the intercept that we got there was 117 of 0.45.
Okay, and your drilling shows that.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
No worries.
Great. Thanks, Brent. Brian.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for this. Good that we could finally catch up on this. The grades are open pitable, obviously, and the geometry seems to be in your favor. Is there the potential for toll treating this? I mean, are you looking at the possibility that you wouldn't have to build a mill?
I don't think that the dollars, even at 5,000, are there to move that mineralization particularly far. The nearest operation is probably Florida Canyon. So to get it up that far would be prohibitive. This open pit heap leach stuff, if I can humor you guys and just pop back to a map here. If everybody can see this, the reason why this flap extends in the the claim package is this bit here is relatively flat, and so we were thinking that we would bring it over off to this this east side and put a leach pad in here someplace if this all works out at some point in the future. For the south, the flat spot, if we get a leach pad, is in here, so that's why you get those flaps in it. That's more what we're thinking.
Okay. A little bit off topic. Do you have any plans, or what are you thinking of doing with Willoughby?
I'm sorry, could you say that one more time?
Do you have any plans for Willoughby?
Oh, for Willoughby. No, nothing serious about that. It's in good standing until
Okay.
2030.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just curious about that.
No
All
problem
right.
at all.
That's it for me.
All right. Thanks, Brian. Lawrence, you're up. Please go ahead.
Brian just snagged my question. But look, Mike, if the drilling at Hercules is successful and you can establish a resource, that's a great path to add value. But Willoughby, in my opinion, also is very interesting. It looks a lot like the Gold Digger project of Goliath, and that supports a $300 million market value. So, whether you guys do something with it or find somebody else, I think there's real value in Willoughby that should be surfaced at some point, or at least, bring it to the attention of investors that there is significant value potential there as well.
A fair comment. The Golden Triangle obviously is heating up right now. It does suffer from the seasonality and the 40 feet of snow effect of it all. We actually, you guys are probably aware of this. We did have another project in the company that was in BC, that was Porter, and we sold that to Dolly back in probably about a year ago. There are some people that kick tires on Willoughby, but there isn't a lot of pressure to do anything because it is in good standing until 2030.
No,
Just for the sake,
it's a lost opportunity, perhaps, and there might be others that have an interest in doing something with it.
No, fair comment.
Okay, thanks.
I was just going to say, given the fact that two of our panelists have brought it up, could you just take 2 minutes and explain what Willoughby is?
Willoughby is a BC property that we have within the company. It's a polymetallic silver property. But prior to me getting involved with the company, StrikePoint was a precious metal explorer in the Golden Triangle. We had a couple of properties up there. When I joined, the board said to me, "Let's take this into a different direction. These properties are in good standing till 2030, and so let's try something different." And given my background, it was like, okay, we're going to go to Nevada, guys, and that was supported by the board.
Okay, but basically, you've got in your portfolio an asset that piques the interest of at least a couple people a year. So that's good to know.
Yep. There's ways to surface value, and what we did with Porter straight selling it to Dolly was a good deal for everybody. Dolly Varden is a specialist in the Golden Triangle, and so they had the team and set up to support that project. And there are others that are like that could do something creative with Willoughby.
Okay, great. Gary, next, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for the presentation. I've got a multi-part question here. What could prevent you all from hitting your Q3 targets for the Maiden resource? On the conceptual side, how do you plan to expand the resource? And being that this is, as you put it, a transformational year, what other catalysts are in your quiver to drive shareholder value?
Okay. The first question is probably the easiest to answer. What could keep us away, and what is happening, and we're seeing this in the market right now, is that QPs are getting busier and busier, and it's just a matter of getting bandwidth and whether or not we can actually get the data to the QP, and he's got enough hours in his day to get the, obviously, and the numbers coming together as well to make the resource estimate. In terms of growing, this is actually a fortunate map to be on. Closing these gaps and seeing and working our way along some of these additional rings in the structure would be where I would go. You can start to imagine moving a bit to the south. This is where I was at showing that picture of cliffs where we got 117 meters of 0.47, pardon me. That's the southernmost hole. And so it's open to the south. So move it to the south. Move this is the cliffs, the Hercules showing, move that to the south. Those are the things that we can do. I think if you were to ask me, where we can take this in terms of a global number, I think that a couple of million ounces in the north is a good number to be. Obviously, that is the fullness of time and drilling determined, but I think that we can get ourselves a couple of million ounces up in the north. The south is where it gets really interesting. There's not a lot of what you would call resource. They put a little, or pardon me, not even resource. They put a little solid around those 12 holes that Bridgeport put in here, but there's a lot of openness and alteration and structure in the south with visible gold at surface that we can get to. Did I get all the parts of the question?
Are you planning on doing that between now and the delivery of the resource?
I think that getting into the south is going to be a function of budgets and weather. The south is a bit remote. You got to come down this way and then in. So we'll wait until all the snow is off and it's dried up before we get in there. But that's something for the summer. We've got a permit for drilling in this area, if you can see it, here around the Pony Meadows and here. We're going to modify this one to take in the newly acquired ground, and that's in the works right now.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
All right, Ed Bugos.
Hello, Mike. How you doing?
Not too bad, Ed. Yourself?
Oh, not too bad. Are you by yourself this morning?
The office is full, but the door is closed.
So I've got about 17 questions, but I'm gonna just stick to a couple. So I won't irritate everybody else. But so do you have aside from the 1 million ounces or whatever that we're going after at Hercules to define, is there anything beyond that? Do you have any theories about a feeder zone? Is there any cross faulting? Are there any extensional faults? Is the mineral
this actually sort of ties a little bit in with Brent's question. How this would work is at depth is these surface projections of the mineralization would actually take off to the east. They're going to roll off sort of in this direction. And so there's a certain amount of down dip that you can play with. Also, as I said earlier, if you've got sharp eyes, these edges are sharp. It just the model ran out of information that's as far as the QP was willing to push the drill hole. And so there's expansion to the south that is available.
So what are the dominant fault orientations there that control?
They're curves, actually. You can sort of see how this curves.
I see. Right.
And this is actually one of the problems. As a geologist, you're thought to think about structures as straight things. And when you actually get dirt, flick answers, I can turn my fingers. When you start dealing with curves, your mind wants to drill a program and say, okay, that's a straight line structure that you're dealing with. And what happens with the curve, and as you also fit with terrain, is your pattern will step across it. So that's where we went 19 for 20s. We actually stepped across. We moved what we thought was straight, but the curve got behind us. And so that's what happens. And it's understanding that three-dimensional geometry that is the real changing point here. And then in terms of the south, that's much more wide open, where we've got structures and mineralization that has really not been drilled at all, or, well, pardon me, that's not true. not been drilled with the new model and the new orientation thinking in mind.
But would you say that mineralization is controlled by the main fault? Or what?
It's definitely controlled by the ring structures, and
Okay.
it's sort of getting back to where Brent was asking the question. It's that main structure that gives you the permeability, and there's a sort of a halo around those structures, those ring structures, where mineralization can push in.
Right.
But it's yeah, that's the control. So you get broad zones, 117 meters of mineralization around a single structure that is 5 feet across, and you can put your boots on it, creates a nice vein, but the overall bulk that you see is a lot wider that it pushes out.
Right, right. So, okay, and I'll just one more question. Are you able to ascertain the age of the rock that hosts the mineralization?
I'm sorry, you broke up there. Ascertain.
The age of the rock
Oh,
that
it's
that
it's
hosts
17 million. It's relatively young. And this is actually an important point. Thanks for bringing it up. Hercules is its own thing. It's at various points in time, the Como district is about 20 miles that way. There's a fault that is in this valley up here. People thought that this was the other half of the Comstock, pardon me, which is 20 miles to the west. They thought this was the other half. It's not. It's a different age. People thought it was the blow off of Yarrington, which will be down here to the southeast. It's not. It's its own thing. It's based off of a caldera, which is the center is right about where my pointer is here, but it's about 17 million years old.
Interesting. Okay. And just one more thing. Is there any evidence of like adulera veins in the veins, the bladed calcite
You do
placement type thing?
Most of our drilling, modern drilling, actually, pardon me, all the drilling in this that I've seen is RC. So you get a mush. It looks like dog food when it comes out. So
Right.
getting those really fine textures, not really preserved. You can see bladed veins if you look at outcropping at surface, but it's a question of whether it's that adulera or whether it's just some calcite or other things that have weathered out of it.
Okay, great, great. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Ed. Graham.
Thank you. First of all, I got to take my hat off to you. Buying an asset for $250,000 and having it valued at over 10 million now is quite a nice deal. I was curious if it sounds, given your track record, kind of reading between the lines, this sounds like a future acquisition target. It sounds like you're looking to get acquired rather than potentially go into production. I'm curious, at what resource size and grade do you think that Hercules becomes an acquisition target? And would you look to simply primarily sell that asset by itself and sort of do a spinoff, or are you looking for a total acquisition of the overall company? Assuming I'm not jumping too far down the road here.
I mean, the way that I look at companies is that to make that transition from an explorer to a developer producer is difficult. I mean, you have to, the Lassonde curve is real, like no doubt about it. You see it time and time again that companies fall into that. You have to switch out all of your shareholders. You have to switch out all of your management. And so you have an orphan period, 100%. That's real. In terms of do we want to sell the asset? Do we want to sell the company? I think that the best answer to that is what's right for shareholders. I think that given what we're seeing in Nevada with various M&A transactions, it could happen at any point in time. One of the great things about working in Nevada is there isn't a gold mining company in the world that isn't comfortable with the concept of working in Nevada. They're all there in various forms. And so it might not be Team X today, it might be Team Y tomorrow, but there's always that competitive tension because you're in Nevada. Did I get all of your questions, Graham?
Yeah, that was fantastic. I'm just a quick follow-up. Are you actually engaged in any conversations now, or are you just simply focusing on the drilling and Maiden?
It was a very busy PDAC. Can we leave it
Okay.
at that?
Yeah, I was there as well. I haven't seen it like that before.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that Graham did ask, he said, what kind of, how big does the resource need to be before you think you'd be a real acquisition target?
I would say that in my simple mind, I think that the million ounce number is a good guideline. We sold Empire, and it had 917,000 ounces inferred when we made that transaction happen. So somewhere in that range would be what I think would be important. You can see smaller deals done, but I think that million ounce number is the ballpark that you're going to be selling to a mid tier at that point in time.
Thank you. And again, congratulations. Great, great
Thank you.
investment.
Okay, great. Dominic, you're up. Oh, you're muted, Dominic.
Hello there. Hi, Mike.
Hi.
I've just got a question about your share chart. At the end of September, the stock was trading about 10 cents and it suddenly went to 33 cents. And I was just looking to see if I could see any news that tied in with that tripling, and I couldn't see any. What drove that sudden triple?
You know, that was a very thrilling time in our life. The nearest thing that we can actually come up with, and this is as quasi confirmed, is there was a Scandinavian investment group that was looking for good ideas, and somebody dropped StrikePoint into the mix, and it went viral. And it was one of those things where we didn't really know what was happening. We obviously got the phone call from the BCSC asking if there was any undisclosed material news, and there wasn't. And we're like, what's going on? And we heard through the grapevine that this is what happened. It was European buying, and it was just an investment group that got a hold of it briefly.
Okay, so you sort of suddenly became a meme stock for a week, and
That's as good an explanation as you can come up with.
okay. And then just looking back at the long-term history, you know, you're trading at 25 cents at the moment, 15 million market cap. You know, it's not a few years ago that you were a $5 stock.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just talk me through what happened?
There was a consolidation, so it was a 50 cent stock, and so that's part of it. We also had, when we transitioned into Nevada, we have a property called Rerate, and that's probably the more recent selling that we saw. Rerate is another caldera story. It's further south in the Walker Lane. Hold on a second, let me get a map here. And we liked it a lot. We still hold the property. It looks an awful lot like Silicon, which is part of this. And we drilled it, and the market was watching us drill it and was very excited. The stock went to 90 cents. And then unfortunately we had a technical success. There's gold in the system, and it didn't, and we got crushed after that.
I've got you. And my last question for you is, I wonder if you could just go back to that slide that shows the warrants and your cash situation. You've got 2.5 million. You're going to have to raise some more money.
Yep.
Unless these warrants come good. But a lot of those warrants, I'm just struggling with the expiry dates of those warrants, because it says 2018, 2008.
Oh, that's actually a typo here. That's 2026, 11/08.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's different convention. 2026.
I see. Sorry,
March 18th,
I'm looking at
November.
it. I've got you. I understand. Sorry, I'm looking at it. I've got you.
Yeah, we're a slightly different convention for how we.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we always say 9/11 happened on 11/9, but anyway, that's so those warrants are kind of, they're just out of the 70 cents warrants, but they're just out of the money, except for those 22 million warrants expiring in 2027.
Yep.
So you're got, I mean, unless you're almost certainly going to have to do another fundraise.
It's going to be interesting to see if we see any of this come in. There is an accelerator clause on these guys. If we run for 10 days above 40,
Okay.
then those automatically come in. So there is an eye on the chart and an eye on the till, to your point.
Okay. So are you planning a raise at the minute, or are you going to just wait? You're doing a wait and see how
I think that right now we're looking at a wait and see scenario. I mean, we are starting to crawl up. Believe today we've hit 26 cents, so we're starting to get closer and closer to those warrants exercising and going from there.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Of course.
All right, Lobo.
All right. I'm still trying to wrap my head around Brent's questions. It's deformed, but this was a roughly planar feature, right?
It was always a curvilinear feature. It kind of looks like a teacup.
Okay. But still eggshell. This isn't a disseminated deposit. It's still, curved.
The fluid pathway is curved, and then it disseminates out into the
Right. So that long section that you're showing, that is along the curve.
Yeah.
Right. So, and the higher grade is 5-10 feet wide, and then it blows out in some places. But it's still a subvertical, pretty narrow thing. I mean, it looks like you're going to have a really high strip ratio, or am I not understanding that?
I think that a couple of things about it is the strip ratio. I'm just going to see if I can find a good picture here. The strip ratio is going to be a function of the hill. So the structures, Cliffs and Hercules showing make up a hill, and you can rip off the flanks. So it'll be a lower strip ratio. This is, to your point, the highest grade where I'm standing on. That's the main zone of silicification. Out here on the hanging wall and footwall of this, particularly on the hanging wall side, is where you get your bulk tonnage. This is where you get your 117 of 0.45. And in there's going to be like a meter and a half of 5 to 6. It doesn't have a real high grade knot. The single highest assay by a county mile is a 47 grammer.
Okay. I'm still I want to focus on the geometry. So like that 117 meters, what's the estimated true width? If you don't have an official one, do you have a ballpark? Because like
I would say that
19 is 4 meters, 10 meters, maybe 20.
No, it's more than that. You're looking somewhere in the 80s.
8 meters. Sorry, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. What would you think the average width of your mineralization is?
That intercept, I would say true thickness is about 80 meters.
Okay.
Overall, I would say you're looking at the various zones. You're probably looking, I'm just trying to spin it in my head, 30, 40, and then it blows out a bit at points as we see
30 to 40 meters wide, typically, if you drill it right.
Yeah.
All right. And can you comment on an average grade? Because I haven't looked at it for a while, but when you put out your first batch of drill results, I remember 0.2, 0.3 grams, a little bit of silver. I mean, it didn't look terribly exciting.
This is the exploration target, and it gives a grade range.
All right. Okay. That answers my question. Just finally then, not to beat up on Willoughby again, but basically this is a completely different company. We're not pursuing Rob McLeod's dream up there, where his dad kicked rocks before him. We're a completely Nevada-focused gold play, and that's the story, right?
That is the story. It switched when I became the CEO.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Lobo. Mickey.
Thanks, Mike. I got one geology question first, and I was having connection problems, so I missed the first part of your Hercules presentation.
Okay.
I presume this is all oxide. Is that correct?
It's near surface. If you spend an afternoon, you will find a piece of sulfide. So there is that, and I don't know if you're around for Brent's question. The
Yeah.
mineralization comes up the ring structures and the oxidation comes down. And so as you go further down, you're oxidized, but you're getting less effectiveness. If you were to cut a section through this way, sort of against the grain, you'd have good oxidation around the structures because that's where the permeability is. If you get out here in the middle, you're not going to have a lot of oxidation. Actually, there's a landslide deposit there, but let's not get into that. And then as you get towards here, you get good oxidation again into the structures.
So these structures are basically listric faults. Is that correct?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
It starts at surface and it's dipping to the west, and then quickly it flips and starts dipping to the east.
They're basically cup-shaped faults.
Exactly. I said this
curvilinear and
a flower structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So over the last few months, I've learned about these limited issue financing exemption, life exemption, and there's no hold period.
Correct.
So what I've noticed is when that private placement was completed, your volume has jumped up an order of 5 to an order of magnitude. So
Yep.
that looks like, I will say, that's people that were in the private placement that are selling the shares and keeping the warrant. Would you agree with that?
That is one possibility. The life financing was a very interesting experience. We opened the book. We said we wanted it for $3 million, and in 4 hours we were at 5.6. And so we were in a situation where we could curate the list, for lack of a better term, Mickey. And so some of the people that are known for doing that sort of strategy that you were just employing didn't get a fill.
Well, I hope it was effective, but your volume looks like, I mean, that's what it looks like to me. It's
the other thing that
that private placement was completed.
The other thing is that when we closed that private placement, it's either that news release or the one immediately afterward. We engaged some marketing people, and their volume guys, and so that was also what drives the volume. But to your point, I would say I don't think it was an order of magnitude. I would say that before the life, we were about a 75,000 a day trade. And we've been up I think that our average now is 280 to 350, somewhere in that range.
Okay. 4 times then. So my concern becomes, you've got an accelerator. I'm looking right now. It looks like on about 15 million of your warrants, but you've got 22 million rounded numbers at 30 cents expiring in a year and a half.
Correct.
And so we all know about warrant overhangs on share prices. Are you concerned about that?
Yes, I think that's a fair concern that we have. I mean, it's what we did to get the life financing done. We made it sweet. I think actually what we'll see happen if we hit the accelerator, and obviously there'll be a news release that goes out that says, okay, your forced exercise is happening on those 15 million warrants that we've got out. I'm going to guess that about half the other ones are going to come in as well, because nobody actually knows which batch they're in.
Okay. Yeah, so I just lost my train of thought for my
No,
last question in that regard. So I think I'll shut up and let Doug have a. or
If you if you
EB
feel
have
if you've come up with it, shoot me an email, Mickey, and we'll try and answer you.
Yeah, so this oh, I know what it was. I'm gonna bitch a little bit. So all these like financing, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm learning about this, they're restricted to Canadians only, and good old boy redneck boys like me in the US cannot participate. Is that correct?
I couldn't answer that question authoritatively. I think that you may be able to participate with a Canadian broker, because I know that some of the Canadian brokers that have large American clientele participated in the financing, but I think that you would have to come in through one of them. I don't
Okay.
think that there's a particular restriction on US, but don't
It says the documents say U.S. citizens not welcome, basically. But I can see what you're saying. If you go through a broker who's passing them through, you might be able to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
No
thank
worries.
you, Mickey. Doug, please go ahead.
Yeah, these are good questions, and you had good answers to all of them, Mike. I'm pretty impressed with that. And frankly, the stock interests me because it has a very low market cap, 13, 14 million Canadian, and you've got 2-3 million in the bank. And those warrants, which Mickey was talking about in more detail, I think if all of them are exercised, you're going to not quite double, actually, the number of shares outstanding. And of course, these warrants are a double-edged sword because it's a source of financing without any real further costs, but it also puts a cap on the stock. But you're doing this drilling, and for what you have, it seems to me that you're reasonably priced in this market. You're, in fact, reasonable being a good thing, kind of cheap, actually. So I'm favorably inclined towards the whole story and everything. And the warrants don't concern me too much because if the drilling works well, it's just a source of financing and you have to dilute for that. Anyway, who's monitoring this stock now? Are any newsletter writers or brokers writing reports on this at the moment?
No, there's no house, what I'll call house coverage. When I say house, I mean in like the brokerage houses here in Vancouver. There's no coverage that way. We do have some what I would call paid coverage newsletter writers that do follow us, but there isn't somebody of the stature of the people that are on the call. How's that?
In other words, the guys that are following you are guys that are kind of pay-for-play guys.
Correct.
Okay. How much money are you spending on marketing, keeping that in mind?
The overall IR budget, and that includes conferences, marketing, everything, on an annual basis is about 550 Canadian.
Well, it seems reasonable in the context.
That's
So
what the directors thought.
yeah, no, I don't have a problem with any of that either.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
The thing about the company is, it you know, to your point, it is, in my opinion, it's undervalued relative to what we have, or what we could have. I should probably put that asterisk in there. The proof is in the pudding. I think that what the market is doing right now is it's starting to anticipate the drill program success that we may have. We're starting to grind our way up. And so I feel what's going to happen with the stock in the next 6 months as we get the results out and grind away is the stock is going to move its way up. It's going to obviously, to everybody's point, it's going to sit there and fight with that 30, 40 cent range for a while. If it pushes through, then things happen and the math changes. And then we're going to come out with that resource estimate. And at the end of the day, when that resource estimate comes out, we're going to do one of three things. We're going to be right where the market thinks that we're supposed to be. We're either going to surprise the market or we're going to disappoint the market. Any of those three things can happen, and depending on who your investor is, all of those will happen. But the end of the day, I feel when that resource comes out, we've now got a maiden resource estimate in Nevada of a significant resource. It's going to be better than where we are today. The share price is going to be better than where we are today. And that's where I get a bit of good sleep out of, is like, we're going to execute our program. We're going to deal with the things that I can control, getting the program done effectively, getting the news out to people, and going from there. I'll do my best to deal with what I can control. The things that I can't control are out there. Price of gold, how the mineralization holds together. We've got a pretty good idea how we think it comes together. I learned a saying a few years ago. It's a quote from David Lowell: "God created gold, the devil spread it around." So we could have surprises, both good and bad. But I think at the end of the year, when we get through and put out that resource estimate, we're going to be in a better position for shareholders than we are right now, regardless of how we have to fight our way through the warrants.
Two very brief questions. One, that mystery property in BC, the Willoughby.
Yep.
Do you have any idea what its market value is right now?
That property is a very tough thing to explore. It is the extreme case of what the Golden Triangle can be. And there's a reason why we don't make a focus of it. It is a sub-vertical terrain that, in order to get geologists out there, they need to be roped in and pinned in. So to the point of people who said it can make some very good numbers, but it is an extremely difficult thing to explore. And so for me, as both a CEO and a geologist, I have the angel and devil on my shoulders. Of the geo is saying there's good numbers and there's good potential, and the CEO is going, but what are you ever going to do with it beyond generate good numbers? That gives you, to your question, what the value is. If in a hot market, Willoughby, I think, has value, but in a tough market, which we're just coming out of, Willoughby is a tough thing to work on.
Understood.
Yeah.
Last thing is, listen, is there anything that really worries you about the company that wakes you up in the middle of the night?
I think that I've done a reasonably good job of setting the company up for a very good 2026. Like I said, earlier in my thought, we're going to go through, and at the end of the year, we're going to have a maiden resource out, and there's going to be a re-rating of the company. I think that will lead to a share price that is better than we are right now. So, and those are the things that, executing that are the things that I can control. Hopefully the numbers come in and we get a nice resource, but that's out of my control. So what keeps me up at night? My son. Not really too much about the company, to be honest with you.
Okay, thanks. Mike.
All right. Great, Doug. Ed, you had another question.
Hi, sorry, just one more. So you didn't like in Nevada, there's I've lost money on several projects that, where there's a resource of, up to 1 million ounces, oxides, low grade, type systems. And so I usually like, if it's a low grade system, I really like the bulk tonnage, the size has to be there.
Yep.
And in my first question, I don't know, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember if you answered my question about whether there's any evidence of a potential feeder zone.
I did skip over that.
Right.
We haven't done the deep drilling to really target a feature. Sorry, I did miss that one before.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So are you planning to do that or no?
Again, this comes back to the geologist versus the CEO. And I do have a geologist on the ground that is lobbying for the monster hole. What I would like to do, and I've yet to see, we're trying to find a proposal to do that monster, but actually clip some of the what I would call the bulk tonnage mineralization on the way down. And we haven't come up with a orientation or a whole plot that meets everybody's needs, but it is an idea that we're pursuing, Ed.
Have you identified like a boiling horizon? Have you drilled through that, or
A pardon me, horizon?
a boiling horizon?
The boiling zone. So no, we have not identified that yet.
So it's probably deeper if
Yeah.
it is there.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Byron King, please.
Yes, hello there.
Hey.
Mike. I was listening to everybody else's questions, and they asked a lot of the things that I was curious about. That there's sort of two things that are just sort of going through my mind.
Okay.
Number one is that maybe I'm slow, or maybe I'm just too much of a geologist or something. But in your presentation, I would appreciate, and this is just me offering free advice here to you, I'd appreciate seeing something that looks a little bit like a geologic map of where you're at. Because in my head, I'm trying to, you said it's a caldera structure. Okay. And you said we got to the point about 17 million years. Okay, that's great. What does this thing look like in a geologic sense? If you can, I know that it's just for us little niche geologists or something, but I'd appreciate that. That's number one. Number two, and this is sort of a follow-on to where Ed was talking about. I see where you're going with what you got here, and I can understand the idea of how you're going to drill it, come up with a maiden resource. But are you far enough along that you can say that you can talk about like what is the mineral system behind all of this, and it's not just sort of gold's where you find it, and the old prospector dug an ounce of dug an ounce a ton out of that vein down the hillside there. I mean, is where are you at in that sort of geological?
I mean, so to your first question, I have that map, and investors generally get bored by it. To your point, I have it, but whatever. And then to your point on like what it actually is technically, like this is obviously an investor presentation, and so there's a lot of dumbed downness to it. There's a whole other technical presentation on this. Like if I'm sitting down with Big Co, then they want that. They want that, what does this look like? What's the stratigraphy? All of those things. And so, to go back to the two sides, I'm doing the CEO role in this presentation. I can do the geo in the other, but that's sort of where it's at. Yeah. Do you want to get into the specifics of this right now a little bit, or do you just do? It's there. We're actually lucky enough that a guy by the name of Mike Say actually did his master's on the Pine Nut Mountains, just before we hired him. So he had a pretty good idea and was part of the group that was instrumental in creating the inversion of going from the the Horst block model to the caldera model.
Oh yeah, I guess the takeaway for now, because I don't want to, prolong this for everybody else, but you are confident that there is a real live mineral system here.
100%. It's defined as a.
I'm sorry.
It's defined as a low sulfidation epithermal.
Okay.
And so that's the bucket that it fits into. And yeah, in terms of when you actually are on the ground and looking at this thing, you can see the continuity, you can see the alteration. Actually, if you ever get out on Google Earth, it's just up in the hills southeast of Dayton. You can actually see the color anomalies and the alteration that are there. And I love Nevada for that reason. You just look at it on Google Earth and that's it.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks, Byron. Any other questions before we let Mike get out of here? Okay. All right, Mike, I think that's it. Thank you very much for the presentation. I really appreciate it. We'll get this published, I guess it'll be on Thursday of this week, so a couple days from now. So
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
All
Mike.
right.
See you later.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Mike.
Take care, guys. See you later.
Right. Thoughts?
Well, just let me make a brief comment. I've got to leave you guys now to run for a ferry to take me across the Mighty Plate River to Buenos Aires. So I'll sign off, but good to see everybody.
You too, Doug.
Doug, yeah, thanks, Doug.
Cheers, Doug.
Yeah, Lobo, go ahead.
Safe travels.
His answer to my question, follow on to Brent's, I thought was better than I thought. I mean, a lot of the drill results from past it, I mean, they are pretty narrow. And that 100 meters is a real outlier compared to everything else that I've seen so far. And I haven't seen the very latest results. But the last ones I saw, it was 4, 10, maybe 20 meters at best. I don't know where he gets the average 30 to 40 meters, but if that's true, that's better, but it's still subvertical. So there's still going to be, even if it was completely consistent, there's going to be a lot of strip on either side. And it's not consistent. This flower stuff, curve, whatever, eggshell. It seems to me that at those grades, even if the oxidation goes pretty deep and it's, heat leachable and all that, at those grades, with that high strip and the potential for internal waste, it is not clear to me that this looks economic. And maybe the model will help and the dots connect better than I know, but that would be my concern right now.
I'm having the same issue there, Lobo. I run through the numbers on that drill hole number 4, 89 meters at 0.3, including 18 at 0.87. You pull that 18 feet out, and you're at 71 at 0.15. That's your halo.
Yeah.
And reading through the technical report or some old reports, Anglo Gold, I think it was, made the same comment that the halo was pretty low grade. That was a lower gold price. But I think that is probably the one issue turning these into a big bulk open pit mine. Given that it is a cheap stock, it's a sloppy stock, and as Ed was pointing out, no, it was Byron, all that information he says he's got is not on the website. So there's no way to really evaluate this. I'd like to see all the drill holes, where they're at, that sort of thing. And that's just not there. So it's tough to make a call on something that looks cheap. And, I can see it going higher. That's my thought.
The story could certainly do that, but I'll leave it. But, I think Bullfrog is not a good comparable, because even though it was kind of thin and low grade, it's flat. It was big and flat lying. Right. So very, very different geometry. And anyway, I'll leave it at that. I'm not saying, forget it forever. I'm saying I'm just not convinced, and we'll see what the truth machine turns up.
Okay. Thanks, Lobo. Mickey? Hey, you guys, you're just kind of free for all. Jump in whenever you want to say something.
Well, I think if I may jump in a little bit here, I have to say that it doesn't pass the mustard as far as I'm concerned. There's a number of reasons. first, this project's been batted around a lot. And I know it comes from Evolving Gold way back. And I, I got a bad taste in my mouth from Evolving Gold. But the other reason is, the other thing I don't like is as everybody's mentioned, the warrants. I'm not sure that the Maiden resource estimate's going to catalyze a big exercise of those warrants. So I don't know what's going to, I think they really have to build the case for a feeder system or something beyond what is at surface there so far. And of course, the strip ratio and the address in Nevada bothers me a little bit for a small deposit, anyways. And and so they and even the fact that they don't even have a plan to target a feeder system at depth, to me, it's I'll pass on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll chime in, Matt. Yeah, I agree with Brent and really just about everybody else. I think it's going higher. I mean, it's just that cheap. And Mike's got a lot of experience in the area. He's got a great track record in the area. With Northern Empire, he told me kind of similar things that weren't yet demonstrated by the drill bit. And I did a little due diligence, and other really smart people backed up what he said. And so he's been a straight shooter with me before, and it's worked out very well. So I've got some level of confidence in him, with this. I personally, I would wait until the next round of drill results. I think that seems to be kind of the consensus here. See what it turns up and see how long, if it bears out what he's saying. That said, if it turns out decent drill results, this thing will be trading for double pretty quick, given where it is, and and everything else about it. A quick note on Willoughby, because Lawrence also mentioned it. It isn't a focus. It does have some value. It's extremely high grade, narrow width, but the terrain is extremely steep and very hard to drill and explore. So it's got some value down the road, but I can understand why it's not, their primary focus right now.
Not to beat on Willoughby too much, but Goliath had the same problems on Gold Digger, and it worked out very well for Gold Digger. So I wouldn't dismiss it completely. Certainly, it's not adding value in the near term, and the possibility there is it might get spun out.
Yeah, I think it would at some point. I mean, I think it does have some value. I don't remember, Lawrence, if they ever came up with a resource estimate, but when we had it in the company that I co-founded, I think it was like 300, 400,000 ounce, ideally or conceptually.
Yeah, there's certainly no resource at present, and the hits are really scattered. So it'll take a lot of drilling to get to the point where it has value.
Yeah, and nice fleece there, Lawrence. I really like that.
Yeah. On the Nevada thing, I agree with all the comments, but add to that they do have a lot of other targets, and giving them a lot of scope to eventually get to the point of having a resource, even if it doesn't work out on this first go round.
Yeah, he's got a lot of land there.
Yeah, that's good.
Guys, there's it seems to me like this stock could easily go to 50 cents. I've got a little bit of a different look with the trading. What I see is over the last year, they did 74 million shares at 17 cents average, which what that means is that they pretty much turned over the entire, outstanding, flow of the company. It's all been turned over. So it's new holders. And the warrants don't really bother me too much, because I feel like they're going to be able to, the gold price has doubled. The stock is barely more than doubled. So it's just an unknown story. 15 million market cap. There's no reason it can't be 30. And as this thing moves, I think what we'll find is that they're not going to run into this tremendous amount of selling, because back to 2024, pretty much everyone that's sold and forgot about this thing. So like a lot of people have said, I mean, this is the kind of thing where I think, the reason to buy the stock would be much more because it can double than because, we really want to like, fall in love and get married to the actual asset. I mean, it seems like, fine, but the opportunity, I think, is the price. I mean, the whole thing is also, just to be clear, like I'm always laughing when these guys are spending 400,000 US a year. Most of these marketing people are trash. I mean, they don't generate any results. And then most of the CEOs are geologists. So they have no understanding of how stock turnover works at all, which is fine. I mean, I'm not suggesting they change that. I just think it's like the goofiest thing ever that companies with like, $1.5 million or something spending, a significant chunk of that on, poor
Marketing.
digital marketing efforts. It's like such a discouraging reality. But anyway, I'm actually surprised that I like this because the more I dug into on the Bloomberg on this thing, I'm thinking like, there's no reason why this thing can't have a little moment here. Now, what happens after that moment, I think it opens up a whole different series of risks. But, as far as, the trading world goes, there's not going to probably be a ton of selling. That 20 million warrants at 30, I mean, that's not like out of control. I mean, I think you call those things in, you get like 30 days or something like that. It's not like I've seen a lot messier than that. So what they do after that, I mean, that's for like a follow-up call. But this one could move a little bit. I mean, it's got some catching up to do, and it might do it in a hurry.
This is why I like having the hardcore geologists to say, will this be a economic mine? And then you have people like EB who says, I think we can make some money on this thing regardless.
I'm with EB.
I think
that the chart formation is beautiful. Like if I knew nothing about geology and was just looking at the chart, this thing looks like it's going to rip.
I think you're dependent on drill results. So this initial drill results could significantly move the stock. And if I was the CEO, I'd be twinning some holes.
Yeah,
to ensure that,
I confess to being sort of somewhat ambivalent. It's by no means the sexiest story I've ever heard. I've seen much sexier stories, and the stock has already moved. It was below 10 cents, now it's 25. But on a relative basis, it is still cheap, 15 million market cap. I think one thing perhaps nobody's mentioned, he dropped a pretty strong hint that some kind of deal was done at PDAC.
Yep.
And, with that kind of announcement, that could also move the stock. He's got a lot of land, so there's a lot of drilling potential. That kind of lowers the risk over time. He told a good story. He was clearly a competent businessman. He's made money in the past. I think looks like the sort of man who's going to make this work. But it's I can see it doubling, maybe even tripling, but it's not like a huge 10-bagger asymmetric bet like sometimes you come across. And, whether it eventually works as a mine, it's obviously important, but at this point over the next year or so, it's the perception of whether it works rather than whether it actually works that's kind of more important. So but then on the other hand, as I say, there are sexier drill results out there, and those warrants, I do think the warrants hold the stock back a bit. So that's my 2p.
So it shows how picky we're getting, that a double and triple sounds like
No,
there are better stories out there.
But Matt,
I've got
You
a
know what I
question.
mean?
when you're investing in penny stocks, you don't want it. You want more than a double or triple because they
I
are
understand that,
risky,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm
So-
just saying that's how spoiled we're getting because the market.
Let me throw a question out there to the traders
Yes,
in this
good
group.
observation.
So the traders in this group, what are you talking about? Like putting in 5,000, 10, 50? I mean, how much is worth it given, it's a small company. Is it really worth throwing 5,000 of this for maybe a double or a triple?
Right.
I mean, how much can you throw at this with reasonably expectations of getting out?
I would only personally put a small portion of the speculative part of my portfolio to work, Brent, rather than, I wouldn't put a significant percentage.
But I think what
capital into this.
Brent is getting at though is would that move the needle for you?
Is that question for me?
I said I think what Brent is getting at is would that move the needle for you in terms of, you put a
Depends on
small-
what you're trying to accomplish with the trade. I mean, everything doesn't have to be a home run. Maybe you just want a quick 5 or 10K in a couple of weeks. I mean, if you're doing so great, the 5 or 10K in a couple of weeks is pointless. Then my hat's off to you.
I mean, for the risk, right? But whatever.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of obvious short-term downside risk with it, though. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I
if the
would
drill results
say
come.
there's a lot riskier. I've run across a lot riskier. I mean, the price keeps the risk low, right? That's the whole deal, So I mean, as far as trade size, I mean, that's totally relative, right? I mean, if I was going to get involved, I'd clean out the board, and go tell the story properly and like.
I mean, he should.
I'm just like, but that's like a totally relative thing. I think.
Yeah, he should have allocated. Yeah, I agree. He should have allocated at least a slide to the British Columbian asset because it's clearly appeals to some people and it's got something sexy about it. You should at least have a slide allocated to that.
Yeah, I mean, look, the volume, like since October, it's 500,000 Canadian shares, and there's not much turnover in the U.S. Which I think could change pretty quickly. But the thing is, yeah, I mean, somebody that's like in this space as a trader, I don't see any problem with like having some risk here short term. I don't think it's not really the kind of thing where you don't really go into the trade saying I'll go make 5,000. I mean, I think you watch the action, but 25 cents. I mean, 25 cents Canadian, I think is like sort of like really low risk given the scenario. I mean, I think that's the problem, Brent, is that, then you get past that, you say, well, okay, well, what, is this something that I can really be significantly involved in? Well, it's only 15 million Canadian market cap. I mean, how involved can you get, right? You're not going to buy, 10, 15% of the company or else you're going to be filing early warning reports. So, I mean, sometimes you see something that can really go, that can be something big. I mean, these Nevada stories, everybody on the call knows this. I mean, it's like, we know what this is about, but it's not really been marketed. I mean, that's why I'm saying they should, whoever authorized the $500,000 a year spending on digital marketing should be run off the board in a shareholder revolt. But basically, you look at this thing and you think, yeah, I mean, who's going to sniff at a double and not think it's interesting? I mean, I don't know. I mean, and maybe it doesn't double, but I mean, it's like when you look at this is a probability thing. I mean, this chart is great. Like it's turned over so much stock, like there's not those holders. It's all psychological. Like if you have a big bunch of people that are down on a stock, that's a problem because they wake up and the thing is up and they sell. But in this case, they've like run through all this stuff, So, I mean, I just think there's not going to be huge resistance. That's why the 20 million warrants, I'm thinking you can chew up half that, like, in a hurry if this thing goes into the 30s and up to 40 and they have 30 days to do it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is like, why not?
Let me know when you've chewed up half of that.
Yeah.
Personally, I would characterize it that I would, if this thing drops in price over the next 2 months, I would be surprised. If it doubled or tripled, I would not be surprised. If it went up 4 or 5x, I think I would be surprised. I think the next drill program or the drilling to the rest of this year until they try that resource estimate, that's going to prove the theory, the geometry, and everything else. And, it's going to be what it's going to be. But at this price, I agree, it's low risk in this market. I've got other things on my plate right now, so I'm not going to do anything with it personally until they get drill results out. But, I agree, low risk, decent upside potential. Dominic, I would disagree with you that he did a deal at PDAC. I don't know anything, but I don't think anybody's going to do a deal at this point. Mike or another party at this point in the company's evolution, they just don't have enough proven yet.
Yeah, just in defense of myself, I would say it looks like a good conversation was had, and I realize a good conversation and the deal are not the same thing.
I think he got interest that's probably tracks along what we're saying. you know, let's see what you prove up. That's interesting. Let's keep in touch, kind of a thing.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're basically at that 90-minute mark. I don't like to keep Mickey more longer than that. I know he gets a little surly if we do. So thank you very much. I appreciate it once again. And yeah, there'll be more coming. So look for invites.
So,
All right.
cheers.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Take care, guys.
Cheers, folks. Take care.